Hello again, traders. Right, this situation I tweeted about or posted on Twitter or X or whatever it is BTC doing what I consider to be something quite substantial. Just looking at this now, and off the cuff, you can see how this green bar is totally different from this green. What time frame am I on? I think I'm on the monthly. Because this is busting up through, forget these lines for the moment, they were drawn before I decided to make this video. And then I thought, it's a good refresher course for me, and I might as well explain how and why I do the things that I do, or did in the past, not so much now, because I've moved to relying on just 3CR, the indicators, these bars here from Aaron's indicator, this multi-time frame momentum, and I'm mostly trading on the 5-minute chart anyway, with confirmation from the higher charts. And this is really, really interesting. I mean, this daily chart piqued my interest as well. I mean, that's massive. And these blue boxes were drawn on daily levels, but I do throw them on now. So we're going to do the process by drawing them on, and I throw them on line charts, and it must annoy people, I suppose, but we'll do it drawing them using just my snap 2 levels. So I won't get rid of those yet, because they will probably align with some of the precision single. I'm talking about these things here. Yellow, I use yellow for resistance and green for support. Green for grass, yellow for sun above, maybe. I don't know, I can't remember. So anyway, yeah, this daily is insane. Now, BTC, the data feeds and various um, uh, brokers deal with BTC and cryptos in different ways. So this is possibly not some sort of gap up. As you can see, it opened higher than the close. That's not that significant, in my opinion, over different brokers. So don't get all excited about a gap and a gap fill and then potential explode. It may well have gapped in the traditional sense, I don't know, but I'm not going to waste my time, because I don't actually trade cryptos with any decent amount of money. We've got an ascending trend line drawn before I decided I was going to start everything again, but I think that might relate to the zoomed out. Yeah, the minute that is broken there, that becomes a valid trend line, and this trend line then will potentially attract price in the down moves, which I don't want to be trading to the trend line, but if it's close to it, then I start to get excited about trading with the trend line, uptrend. So as you can see, these started to be drawn on daily closes, and we can see that on the line charts as well. But another thing that I haven't sort of talked about for ages, all my other videos I talk about it step by step. I know they're higgledy-piggledy, and I always intended to do some sort of subscription service and do them properly and pay for all the proper equipment and all that lot. But quite frankly, I'm living in Asia, health and fitness is more important to me, and I don't want to start working for a living again, as it were. Not at this stage anyway. But so we can see how the price is playing around with these blue boxes and the yellow lines. But it occurred to me, for me personally, they were just thrown on as I usually do, just to explain why we've got sellers have beaten the buyers there, and same here. Buyers tried, failed, and the price dropped. And that again, digressing, is all about that. It's all in my old videos. But let's get back to always, the best way to draw the most important lines is to start on the highest time frame. So we'll keep it for the moment. But we'll go to the monthly, and then we'll look at the open and close of the monthly price. We'll zoom in, and then you can see the most important line there. And I've got a script that snaps to the open close. But again, I'm so rusty with using it because, as I said, I've changed the way I do stuff, and I don't make so many videos. One every 3 or 4 months is possibly, and then I get all excited. So you can see that close and that open are really significant, so that we can stuff on there. So we've lost that other line for the moment. And then you can also do this because I will save this as a template for future updates for myself, as it were. We can also put them on the significant monthly close and open. Do one on that one. I should have done this properly, but with the proper open close scripts, but we'll just do it like this for now. So that will snap to the high of that bar. Yeah. So let's see if we can do this properly. So I don't want that there anyway, but I do want one on the, because it gives us the label, which is handy. Just have a look. Drag, drop, stops, close, opens. Right. Close. Stick one on the close of that bar. There we go. And stick one on the open of, we'll get rid of that one. Apologies if you're new to what I do, but if you are, then you're just going to have to deal with the rambling. Put it on double speed and you'll do well. So open, we want that one. There we go. So we're now getting precision lines on there. So that's the close and open. Yep. And so that's that and that. The pink line. That's that and that. The turquoise. That needs to be updated. Go for the close of that bar, and we'll put one. We might as well put one up. All these are significant as well because they're massive battlegrounds, and they are a zone. It's important to remember that. So if you're aiming for that bar, that level, say for example, it could easily. It is the significant line. It will eventually hit it, but it could easily stop there, come down. Hope that makes sense. Stop there, come down, because this is a zone of lines, and if you filled in all the weekly and daily lines, then you would get your zone, and it will have to battle through all of those levels. And remember, the weekly and daily will have their own little zones, internal levels. So it becomes, you could literally draw a band with, I don't know, 15, 20 significant levels, or you can just set this up to do the job for you. So, which is a brilliant indicator, the SS support and resistance indicator. So we've got these recent ones, we've got that, we might as well put something there because when price is going up there, as you can see, it's hit something significant, and that is massively significant. So we'll put one on the open of the green bar on there. Doesn't really matter whether you put it on the open or the close, but if there is a discrepancy, then it's probably quite important to adjust them. That's significant, that area there, that's significant, that's significant, that's significant. We'll go on forever. But for the purposes of this, we'll stick one on that, the close of that red bar there, because that covers that gap. And yeah, there. And I'm not going to fast forward or anything like that, or pause and do all this fancy stuff. We need one on there because because if this comes back down, we can get rid of that. Then that's a significant area for a pullback to stop. So we'll go for the open. Like I said, there's really no reason I choose open or close. Not that I remember anyway. I probably did have something in the back of my mind. That would be significant. That spike, a monthly high. So might as well put something on there. And this is also very significant. The close and open there. So we'll put something on the close of that green bar if it comes so far down. But as I said in my tweet, when you get, there's Aaron's level there, the 3CR, penultimate high, penultimate low, ultimate low, that spike there, hopefully you can see that, and then the reversal, that's the three candle reversal. I actually do put more importance on the closes of the candles, so this level is more important. So for example, the wick, which is the automated level. Now, because now I place more importance on the open and closes, as I've just explained, but there'll be a ton of weekly, daily H4 levels in a band there, as I mentioned about this situation. So in order for this long 3CR on the monthly to be over, if this happens to close above that red high there, the red candle's high, it would have to 3CR back down on the monthly 2, which would be the low of that candle there. So what could happen for, I used to live and die by 3 candle reversals. Then I just kept improving the whole situation by adding the RSI histo, which we can't see at the moment. It's down to the data, the bars included, and we don't need it anyway at the moment. So for this to be a valid 3CR reversal down, it would have to break and close the low of that level there. I hope that makes sense. And that's why I made a comment on X that I will be watching the 3CRs closely. And I was sitting teaching someone how I operate the 3CRs, and like a 1 hour lesson turned out to be 4 hours with no extra charge or anything. And then and we just watched it to and fro. It was on the hourly chart or something like that, or hourly 15, 30, whatever. It just went like that. It was EJ. I remember it clearly. And the lady was herself a COO of a hedge fund, and she was learning from me. She was fascinated, and she was an amazing trader as well, a lovely person. But yeah, so we were watching this thing on EJ for hours and hours and hours and hours, and we were looking for a log, I think, if I remember correctly, and it just would not. I mean, obviously, knowing how the markets work more now than ever before, we should have just canned it. But we were both stubborn. That's what traders are most of the time, and it was fun. It was actually fun because it was working. It came down on the, say for example, on the hourly, failed to close below that hourly low, so it was still a valid long, and then it failed to, by then it had created a 3CR down on the 30 minutes, say for example, so we had to, before we could take the long, we had to wait for the 3CR to the long side to negate the short one, which it did if I remember correctly, and then it would be, watch the pullback, and it would pull back and create a 3CR on the 15, but it still hadn't, so then we had to wait for the 15 minute to validate to the long side again, and as you can imagine, it just kept going like that and that, and occasionally it would drop down and do the 30. And if you can picture that, then if it's broken the 15 and it comes back down and creates a new 30-minute 3CR, we have to have another 3CR on the 30-minute up. So when I made my comment on X on a post about this, that was why I said I will be interested in watching the internal 3CRs in literally the coming. This we've got to wait for the end of. We're in August now. We've got to wait till September before this validates to the long side, and then it could come down and break that weekly to the downside, and hopefully you're getting this now, and then the weekly would have to reconfirm to the long side, and then it may well then pull back on the daily. Try to do the weekly pull back on the daily, a valid 3CR down, and then we would have to watch the daily renew its 3CR. And all of these can be shortened, of course, because the pullbacks might not confirm to the downside. But hopefully you're understanding now how I developed this black and white system. Really, I could not trade long against a short 3CR, and that is how I developed my rules. And you can't unlearn that stuff, because I saw it happening to the pip, and the whole 3CR came from the 2B reversal, which I can clearly see easily here now, just with eyeballing it. If you put it on the line chart, there's the 2B, 1, 2, 3, breaks the sellers with the buyers. It's got to close above that. And with my new 3CR rules, I'm watching this and this and this, and then I've got the RSI histo to validate things. I've got this clanging around in the background. I've got all of these, which are brilliant indicators, but there's no need for them really. I just, these two, the TMA slope and the RSI histo, and especially, as I mentioned on Twitter, or X this morning, especially the RSI histo, if you do nothing else with your back testing studies, check that RSI histo across multiple time frames, bust, pullback, break and close, and that was a new eureka moment that I added to the 3CR, which was added to the 2B reversal rules, and then the triple Bollinger Band rules, then the timing of the closes and all that stuff is where I managed to develop this method from. So I'm not here to make any predictions about BTC. I think I've covered virtually everything I wanted to cover about the precision of the 3CRs, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, until it's ready to go. And I wanted to, this is such a fascinating chart now, because as I mentioned on X, we can look at these, and you can do it with anything. It's just that this caught my eye, and it really did make me reminded me of what I used to get up to, and how I analyse any chart, whether it's the euro, because obviously the euro is a monster pair, UJ, USD, JPY, which is another monster pair. You could look at the dollar index, which is supposed to be even more important than UJ, but I never really found that, to be honest with you. And to be fair, dollar index didn't really interest me that much back then anyway. But it's those sort of things that you can, this probably re-injected the excitement about long-term studies. And it's easy because I don't have to be watching all the different indices, DAX and all that lot. BTC will give me one thing to just, it's like a hobby, see what's going on. And that's why I thought I'd put it on X, because we can all watch the same thing. We could, if you want to, all talk about what we think might happen. And we could, and then we're going to learn from watching it. If it collapses, which it quite easily could, as I said, if it 3CRs down again after it, if hypothetically 3CRs up on the monthly, then we can learn more about that and where it goes and what the hell is happening with BTC. And we could do gold, and we can virtually predict what is happening in this war in Iran. You know, because it won't be the news that tells you what's happening. It will be the charts. Crazy, isn't it? There is a saying that if I can tell you what's going to happen in the news by reading the charts, and it's true. And those are billionaire traders. The saying comes from billionaire traders. And if they can say, yeah, look at your charts and you'll see what's going on in the world, they mean it. They know it. And I follow them and I know it too. I believe it 100%. Look at your charts and you can tell what's happening elsewhere. So anyway, let's just drop down to the weekly then. I think we covered, let's just double check. Candles. So long since I've done this, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, we've covered most of the levels on this. You could go a little bit further. Notice how that wick did go up and test that zone there, which I talked about. You can go further. We could put a level on there, and we'd see that maybe. Well, let's put it on anyway. Green. What was I looking at? That one. It'll be significant on other time frames, but it came and tested it there. It didn't really do much else anywhere else, but that's when you're looking left to right, that is a significant level, and it came back and tested it almost to the pip, smashed it actually. But as I mentioned, these higher time frame wicks and open closes are zones because they're created by all the lower time frames too. So anyway, yeah, we could go on the wick there if we want, because when it's coming down and retracing from this potential 3CR up here, all these internal levels will be massively important. So we might as well put that on there for because I'm going to save this as a template. I need to get rid of that zone, but I'll do that on the lower time frame. So if we go to the weekly, like I say, we could do all of these, but on the monthly, and they are really, really important. Oh, let's do them anyway, because it's going to take potentially years to get to them. But let's put them on the charts there. The high there, the high there. Notice how that low and that high are almost identical. Might as well put the lows over there as well. We could put the open and closes, but that's virtually covered there. Let's do it anyway. Might as well do them all, wouldn't we? If I'm going to save it as a template for the future. Oops. It snaps to whatever you put it on anyway, so let's put it on the open. We've got an open and close there. Got a wick there. You can fast forward this or switch it off if any of you are still watching, of course. There. Could go on all of the streams that I want. Open and close there. Open. They are two different levels actually, like I talked about before. They look like, yeah, they were. You can see that now. And wick, close, open, close. Need a wick in there. And these will be massive, massive gaps on the lower time frame, so it was worth putting them on. We might as well put that open and close there on as well. And you can go further down here, because if this tries to 3CR down, it could create a massive hammer, come down to the levels below, and then still be a valid 3CR that's maintained its integrity. So, that's how you read candles, or I read candles anyway. So weekly, got some RSI histo data now as well. And I won't bore you with all the internal levels on this, but I would be drawing the levels on these, and I'll do that for myself later and update things. Over here, you can see we've got some significant weekly levels. They all need to go in, wicks, but notice you've got open, close, and wicks, so a lot of them will just overlay each other. Descending trend line can stay. I was going to get rid of that blue box, wasn't I? Because it's not necessary now. And so, as you can see, this would be what I would do. We could get rid of that blue box, but I'll highlight it on the next time frame down. Daily. Should have done that quicker. This will stop me doing that, I think. Oh no. So, and then all these levels would need to be in if we're watching everything coming down, and these. And I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover, really. You can do a descending trend line there to show you a trend, a downtrend broken by this big move here. That does look like it on the line chart. It would be, yeah, that's a lower low than that, so that makes that a valid connection point in my strategy there. So at this point here, and watching all of these, and I absolutely adore them, this would be a good long, and it does what it says on the tin. So all of these lines would be filled in for precision on the lower time frames. Daily, you can go as far as you like, because when you're trading on the, I'll show you, but when you're trading on H1, you'll hardly see any of these lines. So looking at BTC today on H1, we've got R1 here, we've got clear air, so currently, but we haven't got the daily and so on. This is what Dean's lines do for me. We haven't got all of those on there. We've got clear divergence to the short side, really. There's no, especially around this point. So it doesn't look remotely bullish at the moment, and that would agree with that daily. Click on H4 as well for the divergence situation. Yeah, see, that one was falling off. I'm using these grey bars to tell me when the upwards momentum is over quite a lot these days, because I'm learning all the time, teaching myself all the time, the TMA I'm talking about. And then you compare it with this, and you compare it with what you're looking at on the charts, and you can clearly see this is having a breather now. So you can draw a new ascending trend line. We're on the H4, so let's zoom out. People say trend lines are rubbish, but when you watch price come down and test a manually drawn trend line, you can rely on EMAs and moving averages and all that different stuff, but you don't need all this stuff on your charts. But I just love learning all the time, so these are an indicator as well, telling me what time I'm at. I call the vertical lines. I should take them off this chart, H4, but I did just take them off the dailies and stuff. So it's just, I think I've covered everything. Like I say, this is going to be saved as a template when I've finished it, and I was actually, yeah, and then I can revert back to it in the coming weeks, months, and God knows how long. And then that ascending trend line can be extended way over here. So if this comes back and tries to 3CR back on that potential monthly 3CR up, these will be all these different levels that we can put in will be potential reversal levels. And then all I have to look at is all my indicators. And if it's ready for a bounce off of any of these significant levels, including the ascending trend line and so on and so forth, then I'm good to go. It's that mechanical. It is that mechanical. Nothing happens without this all coming into play now. All of this, the timing, all of this, it's a mechanical method of trading that obviously I have to be aware of news articles because they will make the market go sideways until say NFP. That's the best of all of them until NFP is ready to go. Some people I know, well, in fact, my old mentor used to say, don't touch anything, don't even bother trading NFP week. And he was a 15-minute trader, I think, if I remember correctly. But no, he was actually, I think he was a high. No, he was 15-minute trend analysis, and he wouldn't even trade a 15-minute chart on NFP week. And a lot of what these people say is actually bad for newer traders. That ICT guy telling people only trade this minute, that minute, this minute. You're in the worst possible market trading, London Open, American Open, whatever. You may just as well flip a coin, in my opinion. And I made a post on X yesterday actually, about having moved to Asia. It is so, it's almost, I did mention the word criminal. It's criminal how relaxed it is to trade the Asian session. There will be caveats to that, of course. Again, the news. If you're waiting for important news at Frankfurt Open or the UK Open, then the Asian session may well be a problem. But what I love about the Asian session, and I always tell myself this, always have done, is that those traders are there to make money. They're there to make money when they get to work, whatever it is, in the Asian session. It may not happen, but that's how I like to visualize it in my head. They want to make their billions or millions or whatever for their bonus so they can snort out their noses or buy a new Ferrari or whatever. So, no matter what is happening in the news, there will always be a monster move on M1 qualified by possibly M15, M13, M5, H1. So, these guys that tell you must only trade certain times of the day, you must only trade this particular way, liquidity hunts, whatever they are, these FVGs and things like that, IFVGs, it's not good to tell people to trade these hocus pocus voodoo methods, in my opinion. All I'm trading is supply and demand, support and resistance, with momentum and multi-time frame timing and so on and so forth. Anyway, once again, we've ended on a bit of a preach. I know this is a long video, so nearly 34 minutes long, so I presume, just put it on double speed. I'm really, really enjoying this BTC chart, which is why I've made this long video. There is so much stuff that I'm reminding myself of. It's like that saying, I feel I've forgotten most of what traders even learn, and it's I've got the biggest grin on my face because I'm loving this, absolutely loving this. I want to do a similar thing with gold maybe, but gold, in my opinion, is so, well, they all are. They're all so manipulated beyond belief. But, hunting liquidity, supply and demand, which supply and demand, the clues in the words, is just the the algos doing their stuff. So thanks for watching, and I've really enjoyed making this video. So I've no doubt forgot tons and tons of stuff, but I think I've covered the basics with how I use 3 candle reversals, and then how I draw and how I believe when I'm looking at these levels. I mean, how I believe I should trade the levels. Oddly enough, I haven't mentioned pivots, but I love pivots on my charts as well, and they are somewhere around here. I think they're on the H1 time frame. Well, let's put them on, see if they're on the M15. Yeah, there they are. I love the pivots, and there is a little bit of a caveat with them, but not so much as these zones, if you like, on the higher time frames. The pivots are calculated on different brokers, whatever's times and so off. So the pivots are again another little thing. If I'm targeting a pivot, I'll always target 5 or 6 pips. On gold, you're on 80, 90, 150 pips to a pivot anyway. So don't get greedy. Always cut your targets a little bit short on pivots, but they're much more reliable on the lower time frames than these big old monthly levels. Because remember, I said this will, if you put all the H4s and everything on there, then you would see, which is what Dean's lines does actually, and that's why I love them so much, because it will clear. It's a clearer idea of the clear air, which is why again, Dean's lines, one click of Dean's lines will do what would take me hours to do on this chart. In fact, I can put them on there now, because I can take them straight off again. I don't think it will take these off. If it does, I'll be a bit annoyed, but I've not tried that. So Dean's lines, there you go. You've got clear air there and a lot of mess there. It's telling you, and there's the lines and the names of them. That is super clear air, and that's why I believe, Dean's lines is a definite aid. Let's see if we can hide. Oh yeah, brilliant. So there we go. This is a really good example. Clear air, then Dean's lines tells you the proper clear air. And obviously you have to play with the parameters, how many hours, H4s you want to go back, and how many days you want to go back, and so on and so forth. So yet another priceless indicator, because I can draw them manually and I understand them, and then I can be even better educated, if you like, what's on my charts by these gaps. So I've got the monster gaps of monthly on this particular chart, and now I've added all the way down to H4. Got the weekly levels, highs and lows, closes, got all the everything that I need to make a decision. And look at that gap there. That just trundled on up. Boom, 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 boom. And that's clear air. I love that. There is probably, if one, because this will be massive earning potential, there will be H1s and possibly even H4s, depending on how many H4 bars I decide to go back. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's certainly not enough to take that into account. So there is going to be a bundle of noise in there, but get in that lot and draw some daily levels manually. Rather than have too many lines on the charts, which you can have overkill. You can have as many as you want. You could have 6 months worth of day one and H4s on there, and then you will then that then becomes every gap you have between on a chart that looks absolutely full up. Go down to M5, and you've got some massive ops. And people look at my charts with this on and say far too much on there. It's all jiggledy piggledy and all that lot. But it gives me the confidence as a scalper to go for 50 pips on gold that I know has a 6-month gap that was originally a great big move, great big spike or whatever, and it's safe to trade. That's how we do this stuff. So anyway, I've gone on again. It's now 40 minutes into this video, so apologies for the ramble, but I am loving revisiting all the stuff that I don't have to use anymore, but it's interesting all the same. This always interested me, and I'm not going to go, but I'll just mention this too, because I do all this stuff real time. That pivot has been created, yet there's nothing on the normal charts, whereas you will find, there's a whatever, an R something or other there. Can't see what exactly it is, but it's a significant level. There'll be something going on here, an R something or other too, there too, and it's at a significant level, massive monthly levels there, open and closes and stuff, um, and that didn't get highlighted either. So, and these are things that I look at and I think, why, what went on there? And then you learn something else. Here again, we haven't got anything, but maybe that's too low for those monthly charts we looked at. Maybe even this is as well, but no, it's not, because it's in the middle of all this one. But this is an old daily pivot from the 21st of the 8th, so not old, but it's not been picked up at all on any of the recent dailies and so on and so forth. So I don't know, maybe it's my brain, maybe it's because it's up new. Yeah, it will be that, won't it? Of course. There again, it is a significant level. So, but they're calculated on that day, aren't they? Yeah, I'm rambling now. Apologies, but that's how my brain works. Anyway, thanks for watching. Boom. Have a good day.